Hi, I'm Hugo Nicholson from Lisson. Here is our Lisson R-124. It's basically a reissue of the EMI RS-124, the compressor that the Beatles used extensively on pretty much all their recordings. It's available at Vintage King. Some of the users that are using it right now, Michael Brower, Joseph Puig, and Nigel Godrich, all using it and loving it. So it's basically, some people think it's unusual, but I think it's very simple. Has an input which drives the compression, has an output that is just an output. So the input, you get more compression the more input you drive, and then you have an output to counteract the compression. It has an attack function which the original didn't have, so you can have a much slower attack. It has release. It has the infinite hold release, which means it just stays rock solid, which is very useful for if there's a gap in the song, you don't want the hiss from the instrument coming up or anything, then you can keep it on hold and it all stays level. Or at the beginning of a track, you don't want the bass to jump in, you want it to be at the same level as the rest of the recording. The other couple of functions that it has, the hold function, there is a foot pedal switch on the back, so you can control that yourself from a foot switch if you need be, if you're recording your own instruments. It also has a couple of new functions. It has a soft bypass, which means you can say you're recording a string section and you don't want to compress the audio. You can do a soft bypass, but you get the intrinsic sound of the unit, which is really, really beautiful. So without compressing the orchestra. So you get the full dynamic range of the orchestra as you might want it. Or anything else, if you find something that's super compressed, you just want to use this for the sound, then you can use that function. It also has an output load function, which I don't know of any other compressor that has this function, because the original unit, RS-124, had a output impedance of 200 ohms, which made it a little darker. All modern equipment is 600 ohms. So I made it variable. So the 600 ohms down to the 200 ohms, which I've labeled dark, basically self-explanatory, it just makes it darker. But if you find the top end a little too aggressive, round at the 600, if you just back it off a little, suddenly the top end becomes really sweet and really lovely. So yeah, I think that's everything apart from the balance function, which lines up the compression tube. So it has a push-pull system, and if you just press that button, you hear clicking, you just adjust this screw to where the clicking disappears or is virtually inaudible, and then the compression tube is balanced and ready to use. And you only have to do that once every month or something. But that's basically the Lisson R-124.